In the hushed darkness of the medical library at Emory University, Atlanta, on an autumn night in 2012, the ticking of the clock on the wall echoed like the heartbeat of a feverish patient. It was nearly 2 a.m., and the vast space held only a few figures hunched over stacks of thick books. James Carter, a third-year medical student, a white American with naturally tousled brown hair and sharp blue eyes, sat at a corner table, engrossed in an article about cardiovascular disease. He wore a simple white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, revealing toned arms, from hours at the gym to relieve stress. James's calm demeanor suggested he was always in control, but inwardly he grappled with pressure from his affluent family, who expected him to take over his father's prestigious private clinic. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence, a soft sob from a distant corner of the library. James looked up, his brows slightly furrowed. The crying, though faint, carried a profound pain that he couldn't ignore. He stood, weaving through towering bookshelves, the dim fluorescent light casting shadows on his tall frame. In the most secluded corner, he saw a girl with her head bowed over a table, her glossy black curly hair tied high, her small shoulders trembling with each sob. Before her lay an anatomy textbook open to a page about the heart's structure, but the text seemed blurred beneath her tears. James hesitated momentarily, reluctant to intrude, but compassion, the force that drove him to pursue medicine, urged him forward. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and gentle, as he often spoke to patients during his clinical rotations. The girl flinched, looking up hastily, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Her deep brown eyes, though red from crying, sparkled like autumn light, making James's heart skip a beat. She wore a dark green hoodie with the Emory logo on the chest, and despite her disheveled state, her natural beauty held his gaze. I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to disturb anyone. It's just, I can't understand this." She pointed at the book where her tears smudged a complex human heart diagram. James smiled, pulling up a chair beside her without asking. "It's okay. Cardiology is complicated stuff. What class are you studying for?" He tilted his head, trying to put her at ease. "Anatomy," she replied, her voice still shy. "I'm a nursing student in my second year. My name's Maya Johnson. But it's too hard. I feel so stupid." She lowered her head, her fingers twisting to hold back her emotions. Maya James repeated her name, finding it melodic. "I'm James Carter, med student. And I promise you're not stupid. The heart isn't something to understand. It's something to feel." He pointed at the book, his tone gentle but firm. "Want me to explain it? I promise I won't make you feel worse." Maya looked at him, her eyes a mix of doubt and hope. Something about James, his sincerity, or how he looked at her, as if she were the only person in the room, made her nod. "Okay. But you're taking the blame if I still don't get it." James chuckled, the warm sound easing some of the tension. He patiently guided Maya through the maze of arteries, veins, and heart valves for the next 3 hours. He sketched simple diagrams on scrap paper, sharing funny stories from his clinical rotations to make her laugh. Maya, initially reserved, began to open up. She spoke of her dream to become a pediatric nurse, of growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in South Atlanta, where her mother, a teacher, always taught her that love and kindness are the best medicine. James was captivated by Maya's passion and how she spoke of healing bodies and souls. As the first light of dawn filtered through the library windows, Maya closed her book, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "I think I get it now," she said, her cheeks slightly flushed. "Not just the heart stuff, but about not giving up." James looked at her, his own heart beating faster than usual. "Not just the heart stuff, right?" he asked, his voice softening as if they shared a secret. Maya laughed, her eyes sparkling. And at that moment, amid stacks of medical books, both felt the stirrings of a beginning. As they left the library, Atlanta's sky was awakening under a soft golden light. James offered to walk Maya to her dorm, and along the way, they talked endlessly about favorite movies, their mothers cooking their grand dreams. At the dorm's entrance, Maya hesitated, turning to him. "Thank you, James. Not just for the lesson, but for being there." "Don't thank me," James replied, smiling. "I'm the lucky one." He watched Maya disappear through the door, silently vowing to see her again, no matter the obstacles. But when James returned to his apartment, reality hit. He opened his phone to a text from his mother, Evelyn Carter. "Son, come home for dinner tonight. I want to discuss the future of your clinic." James sighed, knowing his family, with their conservative biases and rigid expectations, would not readily accept Maya, a black girl from a vastly different background. He thought of Maya's eyes, her smile that stirred his heart, and wondered if love could withstand the storms ahead. Meanwhile, Maya entered her dorm room, where her best friend Lisa waited. Lisa, a nursing intern with short, red-dyed hair and a blunt personality, immediately noticed Maya's dreamy expression. "Hey, what's got you smiling like you just won the lottery?" Lisa teased, tossing a pillow at Maya. Maya laughed, recounting the story of James and their late-night study session. Lisa listened, but her eyes betrayed concern. "Sounds nice, Maya, but be careful. A white med student guy, probably from a fancy family. You know how Atlanta can be." Maya nodded, but a spark of hope had ignited in her heart. She didn't yet know that this encounter would lead her and James on a challenging journey where their love would face racial prejudice, family pressures, and even literal storms. The winter of 2012 draped Atlanta in a thin veil of mist, but for James Carter and Maya Johnson, the world seemed to glow with the moments they shared. After their fateful meeting in the medical library, James couldn't stop thinking about Maya, her warm smile, sparkling eyes, and the fierce determination in her voice when she spoke of her dream to become a pediatric nurse. He began finding every excuse to see her study sessions in the library, chance visits to the cafeteria, where Maya often sat with friends. Though initially reserved, Maya couldn't deny the flutter in her chest whenever James appeared with his tousled brown hair and deep voice that made her feel safe. They began dating one Saturday afternoon at a small cafe in Midtown, where the aroma of roasted coffee mingled with the soft strains of jazz. In a deep green sweater highlighting his blue eyes, James told Maya about his hospital rotations and comforting a young boy who was afraid of needles. Maya, wearing a red knit dress and leather boots, laughed loudly as James mimicked the boy's expression. But her gaze softened when he said, "I want to be a doctor who doesn't just save lives, but makes people feel cared for." She spoke of her mother, Angela, who raised her in a middle-class neighborhood in South Atlanta, teaching her that a gentle hand can heal even invisible wounds. Their dates stretched for hours, coffee growing cold, as they lost themselves in stories of dreams, families, and hidden fears. James confessed he felt suffocated by his family's expectations, especially from his mother, Evelyn Carter, an affluent woman with conservative views on legacy and status. Maya shared how she'd been met with scrutinizing stares in upscale spaces because of her skin color. "Atlanta may be progressive, but not everyone's ready," she said, her voice tinged with bitterness. James reached across the table, his fingers lacing tightly with hers. "I don't care what they think. I only care about you." But reality wasn't as simple as their words of love. James had never brought Maya home to meet his family, though they'd been dating for 3 months. He cited being busy with studies or rotations. But deep down, he knew his mother wouldn't accept Maya not just because she was a nursing student from a middle-class family, but because she was black. Evelyn dreamed of a white, high-society daughter-in-law to fit the Carter legacy. James wrestled internally, wanting to shield Maya from his mother's harshness, but his avoidance began to spark doubts in Maya's mind. One Friday evening, Maya and Lisa, her outspoken best friend with red hair, sat in their dorm eating pizza and studying. Lisa, a nursing intern, was always Maya's emotional anchor. "So, how's it going with your doctor boy?" Lisa asked, raising a teasing eyebrow. Maya smiled, but her eyes held a trace of sadness. "Good, but I've never met James's family. Every time I bring it up, he changes the subject. I don't know if he's serious about me." She bit her lip, fingers twisting the edge of her hoodie. Lisa set the pizza box down, her tone serious. "Maya, you know I love you, so I'm gonna be real. James might be a great guy, but his family could be a big problem. I've seen Atlanta's elite families. They don't easily accept a black girl like you, no matter how smart or beautiful you are. You need to talk to him straight up." Lisa's words hit like cold water, but Maya knew she was right. She resolved to confront James. The next evening, in a park near campus, under the dim glow of streetlights, Maya took a deep breath before speaking. "James, why haven't you ever invited me to your house? Are you ashamed of me? Because I'm not the kind of girl your family expects." James froze, his blue eyes darkening with pain. He stepped forward, reaching for her hand, but she stepped back, waiting for an answer. "Maya." "It's not that," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm never ashamed of you. I'm just scared of my mom. She has outdated views about race and status. I don't want you to get hurt." James's confession stung Maya's heart, a mix of anger and empathy. "But by hiding me, you're saying I'm not good enough." "James, if you're serious, you have to face your family. I don't want to be your secret." The air between them grew heavy, only the rustle of leaves in the wind breaking the silence. James looked at Maya, seeing the resolve in her eyes, and realized he could lose her if he didn't act. "You're right," he whispered. "I'm sorry, Maya. I'll take you home. I'll tell my mom about us. I promise." He stepped closer, and this time Maya didn't pull away. He drew her into his arms, and she rested her head on his chest, feeling the strong beat of his heart. The following week, James invited Maya to a family dinner at the Carter Mansion in Buckhead, an opulent home with family portraits lining the walls. Evelyn greeted them with a strained smile, her eyes scanning Maya as if appraising an object. Clara, James's sister, was friendly, but couldn't hide her curiosity laced with prejudice. Throughout dinner, Evelyn peppered Maya with questions about her family, about that South Atlanta neighborhood, her tone implying it was unfit for her son. Maya answered politely, but her hand clenched under the table, and James noticed. When Evelyn asked, "What do you plan to do after graduation?" "Maya is nursing." Ambitious enough. James couldn't take it anymore. He set down his cutlery, his voice firm. "Mom, Maya is the smartest, most dedicated person I've ever met. She'll save more lives than anyone in this room. I love her, and you need to respect that." The room fell silent. Evelyn stiffened but didn't retort. Maya looked at James, her heart swelling with both security and apprehension. She knew this was only the beginning of greater challenges. After dinner, as they left, Maya held James's hand in the car. "Thank you," she said softly. "But you know your mom won't easily accept me, right?" James nodded, his gaze resolute. "I know, but I choose you, Maya. No matter what, I'll always choose you." He didn't know that this promise would soon be tested by deeper prejudices and pressure from his family. Back at the dorm, Maya recounted everything to Lisa. "I'm proud of James for standing up for me, but I'm scared. His family looked at me like I don't belong there." Lisa hugged her, her voice firm. "You belong anywhere you want to, Maya. If James loves you for real, he'll prove it. And I'll always be here ready to deal with anyone who tries to hurt you. That night, lying in bed, Maya stared at the ceiling, thinking of James, the love growing in her heart, and the storms they'd face together. She smiled, though a trace of unease lingered. Their love blossomed, but would it be strong enough to overcome the prejudices and expectations in wait? Spring 2013 bathed Atlanta in vibrant azalea blooms. But for James Carter and Maya Johnson, the world revolved solely around their love. After 6 months of a tumultuous romance, James proposed to Maya one serene evening in Piedmont Park. He knelt beneath an ancient oak lantern light from the branches, illuminating a simple silver ring once worn by his grandmother. Maya Johnson, James said, his voice trembling with emotion. You're why I want to be a better man. Will you marry me? Maya, in a fitted blue dress, tears glistening on her cheeks, nodded without hesitation. Yes, James. 1,000 times yes. But their joy soon faced a harsh reality. James knew his family especially. His mother, Evelyn Carter, would not readily accept this marriage. With her conservative views on race and status, Evelyn repeatedly implied that Maya was unsuitable for the Carter legacy. James confronted his mother directly at the family's Buckhead mansion. He declared in the opulent living room lined with ancestral portraits, I'm marrying Maya, Mom. She's everything I want. You can accept it, but I won't change my mind. Her face icy, Evelyn replied only, You'll regret this, James. You're throwing away your future. Henry's father remained silent, his eyes betraying conflict, but no defiance of his wife. Maya, meanwhile, drew strength from her best friend Lisa and her mother Angela. At their modest home in South Atlanta, Angela hugged Maya and said, My dear, true love is worth fighting for. But brace yourself, because his family won't make it easy. Lisa, ever blunt, added, If your future mother-in-law tries to stir trouble, just call me. I'll handle her. Maya laughed, but deep down she feared the prejudices she'd faced her whole life. The scrutinizing stares, the whispers behind her back would threaten their happiness. The wedding was set for a May afternoon at a small church in Decatur, where Maya had sung in the choir as a child. They chose a simple ceremony, starkly different from the extravagance typical of Carter family events. Maya wore her grandmother's white lace wedding dress, hugging her curves, her black curly hair cascading, naturally adorned with a few white flowers. As she entered, the church light from stained glass windows bathed her, making her glow like an angel. James stood in a plain black suit at the aisle's end, his heart pounding. Seeing Maya, he couldn't hold back tears. She's everything, he whispered to Lisa, who stood beside him as a bridesmaid. But the moment wasn't flawless. Evelyn refused to attend, sending a cold message. I can't watch my son make a mistake. James's sister Clara showed up, but kept her distance, her gaze judgmental. Unexpectedly, Henry James's father secretly came to the church. He stood in a shadowed corner, watching silently, and as Maya passed, he gave a subtle nod, a quiet blessing. James noticed his father's presence, and though unspoken, it gave him a flicker of hope that not his entire family had turned away. During the ceremony, James and Maya exchanged vows they'd written themselves. James held Maya's hands, his voice steady but emotional. Maya, I vow to love you through every challenge, sunny day and storm. I promise to protect you, not just from the world, but from my family if they fail to see your worth. Maya, tears streaming, replied James. I choose you every day, no matter what the world says. I promise to be your safe place, as you've been mine. As they exchanged rings, applause erupted from friends, colleagues, and Maya's family, filling the church with warmth. The reception occurred in a small garden near the church, twinkling with string lights and soft soul music. Maya and James danced their first dance to Etta James's At Last, their bodies moving as if meant for each other. Raising a glass of wine, Lisa teased, "I bet you two will make all of Atlanta jealous with this love." But as James held Maya, he sensed her unease. "You okay?" he asked, brushing her cheek. Maya looked up, her deep brown eyes searching his. "I'm happy, James, but I can't stop thinking about your mom and what she said. Does it shake you?" James pulled her closer, whispering, "No, Maya. No one, nothing can shake me. We're a team, forever." That night in their small midtown apartment, Maya lay in James's arms, moonlight filtering through the curtains onto her skin. She thought of their vows, Henry's unexpected presence, and Evelyn's absence. She knew this wedding wasn't just the start of a life together, but a declaration that they'd face every prejudice and pressure to protect their love. Meanwhile, at the Carter mansion, Henry looked at Evelyn, who sat alone in the darkened living room. "You're wrong, Evelyn," he said, his voice low. "Maya's a good girl. James loves her. You're pushing our son away." Evelyn didn't respond, but her hand tightened around her wine glass, her eyes betraying unease. She knew her rigidity might have created an irreparable rift. Across the city, Maya woke in the night, seeing James sleeping peacefully beside her. She touched his cheek, feeling the warmth of the man who'd chosen her despite everything. She smiled, though a premonition lingered that greater challenges awaited not just from James's family, but from Atlanta society, where interracial love remained a thorny journey. Autumn 2015. Cloaked Atlanta in the vibrant gold of maple leaves, but the air was heavy with disappointment in the small midtown apartment of James and Maya Carter. 2 years after their wedding, the dream of building a family filled with children's laughter remained elusive. Now, a nurse at a downtown pediatric hospital Maya cared for, smiling children daily. But returning home, she faced an aching void. James, completing his residency at Emory Hospital, carried a silent pain, though he always tried to stay strong for Maya. They began trying for a child soon after their wedding, with the naive hope that their love would quickly bear fruit. But month after month, the pregnancy tests in the bathroom showed only a single pink line. With her smooth brown skin and curly hair tied high, Maya often sat alone on the bathroom floor, clutching the test tears falling silently. She hid these moments from James, unwilling to let him see her vulnerability. Yet her pain wasn't just from the failed tests, but also from the curious glances of colleagues and the careless questions from friends. "When are you two having good news?" Each question cut like a knife, reminding her of what Atlanta's traditional society deemed a woman's measure. James wasn't immune to the pressure with his tousled brown hair and blue eyes, now often weary. He loved Maya more than anything, but seeing friends post baby photos on social media left a hollow space in his chest. He wondered if he was the cause of their dream, and if his body was betraying it. He never shared this with Maya, fearing it would hurt her more, but doubt gnawed at him each night as she slept beside him. One Saturday evening, Maya met Lisa, her best friend, at a small bar in Virginia Highland. With her short red hair and sharp eyes, Lisa instantly noticed Maya's weary expression. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, sliding a mojito toward her. "Don't tell me you're letting those nosy hospital ladies get to you about kids again." Maya sighed, twirling her glass. "It's not just them, Lisa. I took another test yesterday. Still nothing. I'm starting to think something's wrong with me." Her voice trembled, and she lowered her head, hiding tears. Lisa grabbed Maya's hand, her tone firm. "Listen, Maya. You're not a machine churning out kids on demand. Maybe it's not you, it could be timing, or even James. Have you seen a doctor?" Maya shook her head, admitting she feared facing the truth. Lisa pressed on. I know an amazing OB/GYN Dr. Harris who specializes in infertility. She's black and gets the pressures you're under. Let me set up an appointment. Maya nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. She knew Lisa was right. She needed to face the issue for herself and James. Yet the thought of seeing a doctor terrified her, as if a formal diagnosis would confirm she was defective in society's eyes. That night, returning home, Maya found James on the sofa, a cold coffee mug in hand. Dim light highlighted the tense lines on his face. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice soft but concerned. "Met Lisa," Maya replied, sitting beside him. She took a deep breath, choosing honesty. "James, we need to talk about us not being able to have kids." She shared her conversation with Lisa about her fears and the suggestion to see a doctor. "I'm scared, James. Scared I'm the problem, that I'm letting you down." James froze, his blue eyes meeting hers with pain and love. He set the mug down, pulling Maya into his arms. "Maya, you could never let me down. If anyone's failing, it's me. I'm scared too. Scared the problem with me. I can't give you what you want." His confession cut deep but bridged their distance. Maya looked up, tears streaming. "James, you're all I want. But I can't stop thinking that. If I can't have kids, people will see me as a failed woman, especially your mom." James gripped her hand, his voice resolute. "My mom has no right to judge you. No one does. We'll see a doctor together. Whatever the outcome, we're a team, Maya. I promise." The following week, they met Dr. Harris, a black OB/GYN with a warm smile and professional demeanor. She listened to their story in her cozy office, taking careful notes. "Infertility isn't anyone's fault," she said gently. "There are many causes, and we'll explore them step by step. What matters is that you support each other." Maya felt a weight lift, as if the societal burden that she must prove her worth through motherhood eased slightly. But as they left the clinic, Maya received a text from Clara, James's sister. "Mom heard you're struggling with kids. She told me to say maybe Maya should consider if she's truly right for James." The message hit like a punch, leaving Maya trembling with anger and hurt. She showed James the phone, and his face darkened. "Enough," James said, his voice ice cold. He called Clara, uncaring that it was 10 p.m. "Tell Mom if she ever insults Maya again. She's no longer my mother. Maya's my wife, and I'll protect her." He hung up, turning to Maya and holding her tightly. "I'm sorry, Maya. I won't let them hurt you anymore." That night, Maya lay beside James in their quiet apartment, feeling his warmth. She thought of the pregnancy tests, the Carter family's cruel whispers, and James's love fierce like an unquenchable flame. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, and that societal and familial pressures would persist. However, with James by her side and Lisa's support, she felt a spark of hope they could endure. Across the city, Evelyn Carter sat in the mansion's living room, rereading Clara's text. Anger mixed with unease stirred within her. She'd hoped their fertility struggles would make James see reason, but his loyalty to Maya made her question herself. Was she losing her son to her prejudices? Winter 2016 brought an unusually biting chill to Atlanta, as if the frosty weather mirrored the mood of James and Maya Carter. 3 years after their wedding, their small midtown apartment still lacked the sound of children's laughter, despite trying everything: diet changes, cycle tracks, and tense doctor visits. Maya, now a beloved pediatric nurse at an Atlanta hospital, brought smiles to her patients, but each night she faced the gnawing pain of negative pregnancy tests. James, a resident doctor at Emory Hospital, hid his disappointment, but his eyes betrayed him when he saw happy families. The pressure wasn't just from their unfulfilled dream, but also from James's family, particularly his mother, Evelyn Carter. After Clara's cruel text the previous year, Evelyn began openly criticizing Maya during the rare family dinners James and Maya reluctantly attended. At the Carter mansion in Buckhead, Evelyn no longer masked her prejudice. During a November dinner, as Maya shared a story about a pediatric patient, Evelyn interrupted coldly. "Such a shame, Maya. You seem so good at caring for other people's children, but you can't give James one. Perhaps you're not suited to be a mother in this family." Evelyn's words struck like a blade, piercing Maya's heart. She gripped her napkin, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I do my job because I love children, Mrs. Carter. Having a child or not doesn't define my worth." But Evelyn's judgmental stare and Clara's smirk made Maya feel like she was on trial. James squeezed her hand under the table beside her, his anger flaring. "Mom, that's enough," he said, his voice icy. "Maya's my wife and I won't let you insult her." He stood, pulling Maya from the table, leaving Evelyn and Clara in tense silence. On the drive home, Maya stared out the car window, tears falling silently. James, gripping the steering wheel, felt helpless. "I'm sorry, Maya," he said, his voice hoarse. "I shouldn't have let you go there. I kept thinking Mom would change, but I was wrong." Maya turned, touching his hand lightly. "It's not your fault, James. But I'm tired. Tired of proving myself to your family, to the whole world." Atlanta's societal pressure, where a woman's role was often tied to motherhood, suffocated Maya further. At the hospital, colleagues' casual questions, "When are you and James having kids?" made her feel like a failure. She began avoiding friend gatherings where baby talk dominated. Only Lisa, her blunt friend with red hair, remained her anchor. One Friday evening, Lisa invited Maya to a coffee shop in East Atlanta, their usual spot for heart-to-hearts. "You can't let your mother-in-law's venom bring you down," Lisa said, sliding a latte toward Maya. "You're Maya Johnson, who's overcome countless prejudiced stares to become the best nurse in that hospital. Don't let them define you." Maya gave a weak smile, her voice trembling. "Lisa, I'm scared. I feared James would regret marrying me if I couldn't have kids. His mom's right. He deserves someone better suited." Lisa grabbed her hand, eyes resolute. "James loves you, Maya. I see how he looks at you like you're his whole world. But you need to talk to him and be honest about your feelings. I've also set up a meeting with a support group for Black women at the hospital. They've all faced pressures like yours." "Come okay," Maya agreed. And the following week, she attended the support group, led by Dr. Harris, their OB/GYN. In a warm room, adorned with African art, Maya listened to Black women share stories of motherhood pressures, racial bias, and reclaiming self-worth. An older woman, Denise, said, "You don't need to bear a child to prove you're a woman. You're already a miracle just by existing." Her words hit Maya deeply, bringing tears. But this time, they were tears of release. Meanwhile, pressure from James's family escalated. Undeterred by her text, Clara organized a dinner at an upscale midtown restaurant, inviting James, Maya, and a white doctor, Emily Watson. Emily, tall, blonde, and a mother of two, was introduced by Clara as a wonderful friend, perfect for James. As Clara praised Emily's success and perfect family, Maya felt publicly compared. Sensing his sister's scheme, James said, "Clara, if you think you can drive a wedge between me and Maya, you're wrong. Maya's my wife, and no one can replace her." He took Maya's hand, leading her out, leaving Clara and Emily in awkward silence. That night in their apartment, Maya hugged James, tears streaming. "Thank you," she whispered. "But I'm scared, James. Scared your family will never stop. Scared I'm not enough for you." James pulled her close, his voice firm. "Maya, you're the strongest woman I know. My family can say what they want, but can't change that. I love you forever." But as Maya slept, James stared at the ceiling, heart heavy. He thought of dreams of a child with Maya's brown eyes, the pressure from his mother and sister, and the fear he couldn't shield Maya from this pain. He knew that without setting firm boundaries, his family would keep hurting the woman he loved. His resolve to confront Evelyn and Clara directly was forming, but he didn't yet know the most significant challenge still awaited. Across the city, Evelyn sat in her office reading an article about the Carter family legacy. She thought of Maya and her resilience, and for the first time a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. But deep-seated prejudice and family expectations quickly smothered it. She picked up the phone, calling Clara. "We need to do something. James can't stay with her." Summer 2020 scorched Atlanta, not just with stifling heat, but with citywide protests demanding racial justice. The air was thick and tense in James and Maya Carter's Midtown apartment. 7 years after their wedding, the dream of a family with children's laughter remained unfulfilled despite countless doctor visits, medications, and shattered hopes. Maya, now a seasoned pediatric nurse, brought gentle smiles to her patients, but her heart bore scars from negative pregnancy tests and cruel words from James's family. James, a full-fledged doctor at Emory Hospital, tried to hide his pain, but he couldn't deny that pressure from his mother, Evelyn Carter, threatened their happiness. On their 7th wedding anniversary, Maya decided to do something special to remind them of the love that brought them together. She prepared James's favorite grilled steak, set the table with candles and flowers, and wore the red dress from their first date, hugging her frame. But James was stuck at the hospital for an emergency surgery. He called, voice full of regret. "I'm sorry, Maya. I'll be home before 7 with flowers and wine. Wait for me." "Okay." Maya smiled over the phone. "Don't worry, James. We have all night." But as she hung up, a vague sadness crept in. The doorbell rang at 6 p.m., and Maya, thinking James was early, rushed to open it with a radiant smile. But there stood Evelyn Carter in a deep green silk dress, her face cold as ice. "Evelyn," Maya said, her voice instantly guarded. "James isn't home. Why are you here? I know where my son is." Evelyn replied, stepping into the apartment uninvited, her eyes scanning the small space with disdain. "I'm here to talk to you, Maya. A talk that should have happened long ago." Every instinct urged Maya to shut the door, but she stood firm, hands clenched. "Say what you want to say," she said, calm but defiant. Evelyn sat on the sofa, acting as if she owned the place. "Please sit, Maya. What I'm about to say will be easier if you don't stand there like an adversary." Maya remained standing, eyes locked on Evelyn. "I'm listening." Evelyn smiled, but it was as cold as an Atlanta winter. 7 years, Maya. You and Jam have been married for 7 years. No single child exists. Not one pregnancy, not a glimmer of hope. Do you know what that says about you? You can't do the most basic thing a wife should do, give her husband a family. Evelyn's words hit like a blow, stealing Maya's breath. She fought to keep her face composed, but her heart pounded. "James and I love each other," she replied, trembling slightly. "Our marriage isn't just about having children. Love each other." Evelyn laughed, the sound sharp, like breaking glass. "Love doesn't sustain a legacy, Maya. Love doesn't give me grandchildren or continue the Carter line. James deserves a real wife who can give him what he needs. Not a failure like you." Maya's legs weakened, but she refused to sit. "James doesn't care about your legacy. He loves me for who I am." But her voice lacked conviction, as if Evelyn's words had planted seeds of doubt. "Is that so?" Evelyn tilted her head, her gaze cutting like a knife. "I see how James looks at children in the hospital, how he forces a smile when friends show off their kids. Do you think he's happy stuck with someone who can't bear a child? You're being selfish, Maya. You're holding him back, robbing him of a real family." Enough! Maya shouted, tears spilling over. You have no right to judge me. Get out of my house now. But Evelyn didn't move, her eyes still cold. I'm not here to argue. I'm asking you to do the right thing. Divorce James. Set him free. If you truly love him, you won't be selfish enough to keep him tied to someone useless. The word useless was a final dagger, and Maya collapsed into a chair, hands covering her face. Evelyn stood, smoothed her dress, and left the apartment in deathly silence. Maya sat amid the lovingly prepared dinner, feeling her world crumble. Evelyn's words echoed selfish, useless failure. She wondered if Evelyn was right, if she was standing in the way of James's happiness. James returned an hour later, holding red roses and a bottle of wine, his face beaming. But seeing Maya, motionless, eyes red, he dropped everything on the floor and rushed to her. Maya, what's wrong? What happened? He knelt before her, grasping her hands cold as ice. Maya looked at him, her voice breaking. Your mom, she came here. She said I'm selfish and useless because I can't have kids. She told me to divorce you to let you find someone better. She sobbed, her body trembling. James felt rage surge through him. He stood, grabbed his phone and called Evelyn. Mom, he said, voice like steel. You crossed the line. You came to my home, insulted my wife, called her useless. As of now, you're no longer my mother. Don't ever contact us again. He hung up before Evelyn could respond, then returned to Maya, holding her tightly. I'm sorry, Maya. He whispered, tears falling into her hair. I should have cut her off long ago. You're not selfish, not useless. You're everything I need. Maya leaned into his chest, crying until exhaustion took over. But in her heart, the seed of doubt Evelyn planted began to sprout. She wondered if their love was enough to overcome this pain, and if she truly deserved James. That night, she slept in his arms, but felt alone for the first time in 7 years. The next morning, Maya called Lisa to recount everything. At the hospital, Lisa took an early leave to meet her friend. At a park near their home, Lisa hugged Maya, her voice firm. You can't let her win, Maya. James loves you, and you're stronger than she thinks. I'm here, and so is the support group. We'll get through this. James, meanwhile, called his father, Henry. Dad, I'm done with Mom. If you don't stand with Maya, you're not my father either. Henry paused, then said, Son, I was wrong for staying silent too long. I want to meet you and Maya to apologize. James agreed, but he knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. At the Carter mansion, Evelyn sat alone, clutching a family photo frame. James's words echoed in her mind, and for the first time, she felt a vague fear that she might have pushed her son away forever. But her prejudices, deep as ancient roots, kept her from admitting her wrongs. Autumn 2020. Draped Atlanta in radiant gold. And for James and Maya Carter, their world was slowly regaining light after months of darkness. After confronting Evelyn Carter on their 7th wedding anniversary, James severed ties completely with his mother and sister Clara, a painful but necessary decision to protect Maya. Their small midtown apartment, once weighed down by insults and the despair of infertility, became a haven where they began their journey of healing. Maya, with her black curly hair tied high and deep brown eyes, now carrying a flicker of hope, still bore scars from Evelyn's words, selfish, useless. She had once considered leaving to free James, but his love, fierce, like an unquenchable flame, held her close. With his tousled brown hair and blue eyes now brighter, James resolved that they needed to rediscover themselves, not just as a couple trying for a child, but as two people who loved and lived for each other. Maya courageously told James everything Evelyn had said, 3 days after the incident. They sat in the kitchen, soft yellow light illuminating her face. "James, your mom said I'm stealing your future, that I'm a failure because I can't have kids," she whispered, voice trembling. James listened, gripping his coffee mug, his face paling with anger and pain. When she finished, he stood, called every family member, Clara, aunts, uncles, even his grandfather, and declared, "Anyone who doesn't respect Maya is no longer my family." Maya, beside him, tears falling, felt guilt and overwhelming gratitude. "You didn't have to do that, James," she said, voice choked. "They're your family." James turned, taking her hands, eyes resolute. "You're my family, Maya. They chose to hurt you, and I'll never forgive that." They began couples therapy with Dr. Coleman, a black psychologist at an Atlanta community center, to heal. In a warm room adorned with local art, they learned to share their infertility pain without letting it define them. James admitted he'd felt powerless, unable to shield Maya from his family, and feared losing her to those pressures. For the first time, Maya confessed she'd blamed herself, feeling unworthy of his love. With a gentle voice, Dr. Coleman said, "Love isn't about perfection. It's about navigating the cracks together." Therapy helped them rediscover laughter, the light moments once overshadowed by pain. James made a bold choice. He left the Carter family's prestigious private clinic to work at a community clinic in West End, serving people experiencing poverty and being uninsured. "I want to do meaningful work, Maya," he said one evening as they ate pizza on the sofa. "Not for money or status, but for people who need me." Though the pay was lower, the decision lit up James. He shared stories with Maya about patients like Ms. Rosa, a single mother who thanked him for treating her son, or young Jamal, who gave him a scribbled drawing as a gift. These tales made Maya smile, seeing her husband become the man he always wanted to be. Inspired by James, Maya returned to school to become a women's health nurse practitioner. She enrolled in a program at Emory University, where she met Professor Helen, a passionate black woman who encouraged her to pursue her dream of helping women struggling with infertility. Lisa, her best friend, supported Maya by studying with her late at night and joking to keep her spirits high. "You'll be the best nurse, Maya," Lisa said, tossing a pen at her in the library, "and I'll be bragging about you all over the hospital." They adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever named Daisy, who was abandoned and fearful when they met her. Daisy, with sad brown eyes, became their joy. Maya and James spent hours teaching her to trust, watching her bound through the park, tail wagging wildly. "Look at her go," Maya laughed, hugging James one sunset. "She reminds me everything can heal." James kissed her forehead, his heart lighter than ever. One evening after therapy, Maya and James sat on their balcony gazing at the city lights. Maya held his hand, voice soft. "James, I once thought about leaving to give you a chance at someone else, but you showed me I'm enough, even when I didn't believe it." James pulled her close, voice hoarse. "Maya, you're not just enough. You're everything. I chose you, and I'll choose you every day." They began discussing building a family differently. Lisa introduced them to an adoption agency, and they attended a workshop hearing a couple's story of adopting 2 siblings from foster care. "Maybe family isn't about blood," James said, eyes bright. "It's about who we choose to love." Maya nodded, feeling a new spark of hope. Meanwhile, at the Carter mansion, Evelyn lived in isolation. James refused all contact, and Henry, his father, began openly criticizing her. "You pushed our son away." "Evelyn," he said one evening, voice low, "Maya's a good wife. You couldn't see it because of your prejudice." Evelyn stayed silent, but her resolve wavered though she wasn't ready to admit fault. Lisa, the Black Women's Hospital Group, and Professor Helen supported her, and Maya regained her confidence. She no longer saw herself as a failure due to infertility. One afternoon in Piedmont Park, she watched James play with Daisy, laughing as the dog stole his ball. She realized that whatever the future held, they'd built a family not by blood, but through love, resilience, and the people who uplifted them. Spring 2021 saw Atlanta awaken after a turbulent year, its streets lined with blooming cherry blossoms and an air brimming with hope. Light returned after dark months in James and Maya Carter's Midtown apartment. Having cut ties with James's toxic family, particularly his mother Evelyn, they rediscovered themselves through therapy, meaningful work, and their four-legged friend Daisy, who brought daily laughter. Maya, her black curly hair tied high and deep brown eyes now brighter, was nearing her goal of becoming a women's health nurse practitioner. Working at a West End community clinic, James found joy in helping patients who needed him most. But their healing journey didn't stop in Atlanta. Inspired by her mother, Angela, Maya suggested a trip to Jamaica, her grandmother's homeland, to reconnect with joy and her roots. "We need a place to breathe." "James," she said one evening on their balcony. Daisy curled at their feet. "Jamaica's where Mom grew up, where I feel I belong." James, with his tousled brown hair and gentle smile, nodded instantly. "Let's go, Maya. Just us, Daisy, and the Caribbean Sea." They flew to Montego Bay in April, carrying a lightness they hadn't felt in years. In a small seaside village, they stayed in a rustic wooden cottage, windows open to the turquoise ocean. Maya led James down red dirt paths in a vibrant yellow maxi dress, sharing stories her grandmother told of resilient Jamaican women, reggae music, and love overcoming hardship. In a white linen shirt, James was captivated by Maya's vibrancy and how she embraced her heritage. They danced at a street festival, ate fiery jerk chicken, and laughed as Daisy chased a crab on the beach. One afternoon, they met Mr. and Mrs. Thomas, an elderly Jamaican couple living nearby. Over a dinner of grilled fish and rum, the Thomases shared that they'd adopted two brothers from an orphanage 30 years ago. "Family isn't about blood," Mrs. Thomas said, eyes twinkling. "It's about who you choose to love, to nurture." Her words struck Maya, easing her pressure to bear children. She squeezed James's hand under the table, feeling a new spark of hope for building their family their way. Maya and James sat on a blanket that night, on a starlit beach, waves lapping gently. Leaning against his shoulder, Maya said, "James, I used to think I had to have a child to prove I'm a good wife. But here with you, with people like the Thomases, I see family as what we make it." James kissed her hair, voice low. "I feel the same, Maya. I don't need kids to be happy. I need you." But the most heartfelt moment came another evening when Maya stumbled upon James's journal in his suitcase. He'd been writing for years, documenting private thoughts about their infertility journey. One page stopped her cold. "I'm scared of losing Maya. She is scared that pressure from Mom, from society, will make her think she's not enough. But she's all I want. If we never have kids, I'll love her till the end." Tears fell, a mix of pain and joy. She brought the journal to the balcony where James sat with Daisy. "James, why didn't you tell me this?" she asked, voice choked, holding up the journal. James froze, then gave a sad smile. "I didn't want you to worry, Maya. I wanted to be strong for you, but I was scared too. Scared I'm not enough to make you happy, that I can't protect you from pain." Maya knelt before him, taking his hands. "James, you're why I'm happy. You chose me despite everything. But from now on, we're honest with each other. Okay? No more hiding." James nodded, pulling her close, and they kissed under the Jamaican moonlight. A kiss, sealing a promise of absolute honesty. Back in Atlanta, they carried a new energy. Maya continued her studies at Emory, mentored by Professor Helen, writing a thesis on Black women's reproductive health, a topic that gave her purpose. Beyond his clinic work, James volunteered at a youth center, teaching teens about health and sharing his story. Lisa, Maya's best friend, hosted a night at her place inviting James, Maya, and the Black Women's Hospital Support Group. Amid laughter and soul music, Maya felt a community, not blood family, but people who uplifted her. One afternoon, they attended an adoption workshop Lisa recommended. Hearing a couple's story of adopting a girl from Haiti, Maya and James exchanged a look, eyes alight. "We can do this, right?" Maya asked, voice hopeful. James squeezed her hand, smiling. "We can do anything, as long as we're together." Meanwhile, at the Carter mansion, Evelyn lived in deepening solitude. Henry James's father had left for weeks to reflect on their marriage. One evening, Evelyn found an old letter from a young James saying he wanted to be a doctor to help others. She sat, tears falling, realizing she'd lost her son to her prejudice. Yet pride still held her back from apologizing. In their apartment, Maya and James sat on the sofa, Daisy curled beside them. They talked about Jamaica adoption and the future. "You know," Maya said, eyes sparkling, "I feel like we're truly living for the first time in years." James kissed her, whispering, "And we'll live like this forever, Maya." Winter 2023 cloaked Atlanta in a thin veil of mist, but a miraculous light was dawning in James and Maya Carter's midtown apartment. After 11 years of a marriage fraught with challenges, racial prejudice, family pressure, and the pain of infertility, they had rediscovered joy through therapy, meaningful work, and a transformative trip to Jamaica. Maya, nearing completion of her women's health nurse practitioner program at Emory University, radiated warmth with her black curly hair and deep brown eyes sparkling with hope. Working at the West End Community Clinic, James smiled warmly when sharing patient stories, though deep down, he still dreamed of a family with Maya. One busy Tuesday morning at the clinic, Maya reviewed patient charts in her white nurse's coat when dizziness struck. She gripped the table, her vision blurring, and collapsed to the floor. James, in the next room, heard the commotion and rushed in, his face paling as he saw Maya unconscious. "Maya, what's wrong?" he shouted, kneeling beside her, checking her pulse with a doctor's reflex. Lisa, Maya's best friend at the clinic, immediately called for a nurse's aid. Maya stirred minutes later, lying on an exam bed, James clutching her hand, eyes filled with worry. "I'm okay, James," Maya whispered, voice faint. "Probably just late nights studying, not eating enough." "Don't worry." But James, with a doctor's intuition and a husband's love, wasn't convinced. He'd noticed Maya's unusual fatigue lately, morning nausea and breast tenderness. "When was your last period?" he asked, voice low but serious. Maya hesitated, mentally counting back. She'd stopped tracking her cycle long ago after years of disappointment with pregnancy tests. I'm not sure. Maybe 6-7 weeks ago." She met James's gaze, her heart racing as she realized what he was thinking. Lisa, nearby, exchanged a look with James and dashed to grab a pregnancy test from the supply room. Maya held the test in the clinic's small bathroom, hands trembling. She dared not hope not after 11 years of nothing but failure. But when 2 pink lines appeared clear and unmistakable, she froze, tears spilling over. "James," she called, voice choked. He burst in, saw the test in her hand, and his face shifted from worry to shock, then erupted in joy. "Maya, is this real?" he whispered, pulling her into a tight embrace, laughing and crying. Lisa, outside the door, wiped tears and shouted, "I knew it! Here's your miracle!" News of the pregnancy spread quickly among friends and colleagues. At a Black women's support group meeting led by Dr. Harris, Maya shared her story, voice thick with emotion. "I used to think I was a failure for not having a child," she said, hand resting on her belly. "But you all taught me my worth isn't tied to that. Now this miracle came, and I know it's because of the love and support around me." The women clapped, and Ms. Denise, who once comforted Maya, hugged her, saying, "You're a warrior, Maya." But their joy came with apprehension. At a visit with Dr. Harris, she confirmed Maya was carrying twins, a double miracle but a high-risk pregnancy due to her infertility history and age 35. "We'll monitor closely," Dr. Harris said, voice reassuring. "But both babies are strong, and you are an incredible team." James held Maya's hand, his eyes a mix of happiness and resolve. "We've got this, Maya. I'm here every step." Maya joined a support group for Black expectant mothers at the hospital, learning to navigate pregnancy pressures, especially the biases Black women often face in healthcare. One woman, Tanya, shared how doctors dismissed her symptoms, fueling Maya's resolve to become a nurse, advocating for their rights. These meetings not only prepared her for motherhood, but strengthened her self-belief. James, meanwhile, wrote in his journal, nightly capturing joys and fears. "Seeing Maya smile today, it's like the world lit up," he wrote. "But I'm scared. Scared of losing her, losing our babies. I have to be strong for them." One quiet evening, he shared these entries with Maya as they sat on the sofa, Daisy curled nearby. Reading them, Maya teared up and hugged him. "James, you don't have to hide your fears. We'll face them together." At the 20-week ultrasound in a brightly lit exam room, James and Maya waited anxiously. When Dr. Harris pointed to the screen, saying, "Here's baby 1 and here's baby 2, both healthy," they clasped hands, tears streaming. James, usually composed, sobbed, seeing the images of their twins, his heart pounding with joy. "Maya, we're going to be parents," he whispered, kissing her forehead. They began preparing for the babies, painting the soft green nursery, and buying cribs and tiny clothes. Maya pulled out baby hats she'd knitted in moments of faint hope, finally finding their purpose. One evening in the nursery, she sat stroking her belly, singing a Jamaican folk song her grandmother taught her. James stood at the door, watching, his heart swelling with love. But an unexpected text from Clara threatened their happiness. James's sister heard Maya's pregnant. "Mom wants to meet to congratulate her." James read it, anger flaring. He replied, "No chance for Mom after what she did." Maya, seeing his face, took his hand. "James, let's deal with that later. This is our time for our babies." He nodded, but both knew the Carter family remained a distant cloud. In their apartment, with Daisy asleep by the fireplace, Maya and James lie in bed discussing the future. "I want our babies to know they're a miracle," Maya said, voice soft. "That they were worth the wait." James kissed her, whispering, "They'll know, Maya, because they have parents who love them more than the world." Autumn 2023 brought a historic storm to Atlanta, with howling winds and torrential rain cascading like a waterfall. In James and Maya Carter's Midtown apartment, the joy of their twin pregnancy, after 11 years of infertility, was now laced with anxiety, as Maya, at 38 weeks, prepared to welcome their babies. With her black curly hair tied high and deep brown eyes aglow, Maya radiated strength despite her cumbersome belly. James, a doctor at the West End Community Clinic, stayed by her side, his blue eyes filled with love, but tense with the high-risk pregnancy's weight. On the night of October 15th at 2 a.m., Maya awoke to a sharp pain and a wet sensation. "James," she called, voice trembling, clutching his shoulder. "My water broke. It's time." James shot up, his doctor's instincts kicking in. He helped Maya sit, timing her contractions, and called Dr. Harris, their OBGYN. But the storm outside was ravaging the city. Trees, blocked roads, power lines sparked, and the hospital, a 15-minute drive now, seemed an impossible journey. "We have to go now," James said, voice steady despite his racing heart. Maya, in a loose coat over her belly, nodded, but the pain left her gasping. James supported her to the car, tossing the hospital bag in the back, and drove into the blinding rain. Fierce winds rocked the vehicle, floodwaters reached the tires, and the engine died in a flooded intersection just 7 minutes in. Maya screamed, clutching her belly as a fierce contraction hit. "The babies! They're coming now!" James looked at his wife. Her face contorted in pain, and made a fateful decision. He opened the car door, stepping into the storm rain, stinging his face like needles. He circled to Maya's side, opened her door, and lifted her into his arms, love fueling his strength. "Hold on tight, Maya," he said, voice resolute. "Don't let go." Maya wrapped her arms around his neck, panting through the pain as James waded through ankle-deep water, dodging fallen branches and severed power lines. The 8-block trek to the hospital was a battle. Thunder and lightning tore the sky, illuminating James's drenched face, but he didn't stop. "You're so strong, Maya," he whispered, voice cutting through the wind. "Our babies are lucky to have you as their mom." Maya, in agony but bolstered by his love, groaned. "I'm not sure. I can do this, James." He held her tighter, replying, "You've overcome everything. Prejudice, pain, my family. You'll get through this. We'll do it together." As Emory Hospital emerged through the rain, its emergency lights were a beacon, and Maya felt an undeniable pressure. "James, they're coming now!" she screamed, nails digging into his shoulders. He sprinted through the ER doors, shouting, "I need help. My wife's having twins. She's in labor." But the ER was chaos. Patients overflowed, nurses scrambled to treat storm victims with fractures and electrical burns. Lisa, Maya's best friend working the night shift, spotted them and ran over. "James, Maya, follow me," she yelled, leading them to a small supply closet, the only available space. "The OB nurse is stuck due to the storm and power's flickering," Lisa said urgently, handing James gloves and tools. "James, you're a doctor. You have to do this." James nodded, washing his hands with the speed of someone who'd handled hundreds of surgeries, though his heart pounded. This was his wife and children. He knelt before Maya, now on a stretcher, holding her hand. "Look at me, Maya," he said, voice calming. "It's just you, me and the babies. Forget the storm." Maya locked eyes with him, finding safety in his blue gaze. Lisa and another nurse, Sarah, assisted with prepping tools under flickering flashlight beams. "First baby's crowning," Lisa said, checking. "James ready?" James nodded, hands trembling slightly as he saw the first baby's head. After 11 years of waiting, their dream unfolded in the harshest imaginable conditions. "Push hard," Maya, James' coached voice, gentle yet urgent. "You've got this." Maya, gritting her teeth, pushed through the pain, her face slick with sweat. With one final effort, the first baby slid into James's hands, a tiny girl, her cries piercing the thunder. "It's a girl!" James shouted, tears falling, as he wiped her, wrapped her in a blanket, and placed her on Maya's chest. The baby quieted instantly, as if recognizing her mother's heartbeat. "Hello, my angel," Maya whispered, crying with joy. Just 3 minutes later, another contraction hit. "Second baby's coming," Sarah said, checking the monitor. James, handing the girl to Lisa, returned to position, hands steadier now. "One more time, Maya," he said. "Our boy's ready." Maya, exhausted, but fueled by love, pushed again, and James caught their son, his cries as loud as his sister's. "Our boy James," whispered, voice breaking, wrapping him and placing him beside his sister on Maya's chest. In the cramped supply closet, amid fading thunder, James and Maya gazed at their twins, a girl with Maya's black curls and a boy with James's lighter skin. Lisa wiped tears, saying, "You two are superheroes." James sat beside Maya, stroking her hair, whispering, "You did it, Maya. You're everything." Maya, drained but elated, replied, "We did it, James. Together." They named the babies Emma and Noah. Emma meaning whole, and Noah meaning rest, symbolizing their journey. As dawn broke, the storm cleared, leaving Atlanta cleansed and bright. James and Maya, with Emma and Noah in their arms, knew they'd survived the most significant storm, not just outside, but within their hearts. Spring 2024 painted Atlanta with blooming white magnolias, symbolizing rebirth after storms. The giggles of their 6-month-old twins Emma and Noah filled the space in James and Maya Carter's midtown apartment. Maya, her black curly hair tied high and deep brown eyes brimming with happiness, had completed her women's health nurse practitioner program and now worked at the pediatric hospital supporting Black mothers. James, a doctor at the West End Clinic, found purpose in caring for underserved patients, his blue eyes lighting up when gazing at his wife and children. Yet the shadow of the past, the Carter family lingered, waiting for a chance to re-enter their lives. 6 months after Emma and Noah's dramatic birth during the fateful storm, James and Maya had built a true family, bolstered by Lisa, Maya's best friend, and the Black women's hospital community. But word of the twins reached Evelyn Carter, James's mother, through whispers in Atlanta's elite circles. Evelyn, living in solitude after James cut contact, began to feel her loss. Henry, James's father, had left the Buckhead mansion to live separately, forcing her to confront her mistakes. Clara, James's sister, had also softened, moved by tales of Maya's resilience from mutual friends. One Saturday morning, as Maya changed Noah's diaper in the nursery, the phone rang, displaying Evelyn Carter, playing with Emma on the rug. James looked at Maya, eyes tense. "Let it ring," he said, voice firm. But Maya, stroking Noah's hair, felt an odd calm. "No, James. Let's answer." She picked up, voice steady. "Hello, Evelyn." On the other end, Evelyn's voice trembled, a rare show of vulnerability. "Maya, thank you for answering. I need to apologize. For everything I said, everything I did. I was wrong." Maya stood still, gripping the phone, listening as Evelyn admitted her insults, calling Maya useless, demanding a divorce, and letting racial prejudice blind her. "I want to meet my grandchildren." "Maya," Evelyn said, voice choked, "please give me a chance." Maya glanced at James, his eyes wary but trusting her. She took a deep breath, replying, "Evelyn, I'll give you a chance, but on conditions. You, Henry, Clara, and anyone who hurt me must come here and apologize in person, not just to me, but to James for forcing him to choose between his wife and family. And you must commit to never doing it again." Evelyn agreed instantly, voice emotional. "I promise, Maya. I'll do anything." Maya hung up, turning to James, who held Emma. "You sure?" he asked, brushing her cheek. Maya nodded, voice resolute. "I want our kids to know forgiveness isn't weakness, but I won't let them hurt us again." A week later, the Carters arrived at the apartment, Evelyn, Henry, Clara, and even James's grandfather, William, in a wheelchair. The air was thick with tension as they entered. Evelyn's eyes red, Clara's head bowed, and Henry looking aged. Maya, in a simple green shirt, held Noah, while James held Emma, standing united. Lisa, invited as a witness, stood in the corner, her sharp eyes watching. Maya spoke calmly but assertively. Before you meet our children, I need you to acknowledge your wrongs and commit to change. This isn't about me. It's about our family, James, Emma, Noah, and me. James squeezed her hand, eyes full of pride. Evelyn stepped forward, tears streaming. Maya, I called you useless. Said you didn't deserve James because you couldn't have children. I let racial prejudice and family expectations blind me. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused. Clara, voice shaky, admitted jealousy drove her to introduce Emily to split them. I was wrong not to see your love, she said. Henry, voice low, apologized for staying silent when he should have spoken. William, who once called Maya unsuitable, said, I'm an old, stubborn man, and I was wrong. You're this family's pride. Maya listened, searching for deceit but finding only sincerity. She looked at James, who nodded slightly and said, I forgive you not because you deserve it, but because I want freedom from this pain. But hear this. Emma and Noah aren't tools for your redemption or to extend your legacy. If anyone hurts my children, you'll never see them again. Her voice was razor-sharp, silencing the room. James added, voice firm, This is your only chance. Cross the line, and we're gone from your lives. Evelyn nodded, tears falling, and with newfound confidence, Maya handed Noah to her. Evelyn gazed at her grandson, her face breaking with emotion. They're so beautiful, she whispered, stroking Noah's cheek. Clara and Henry took turns holding Emma, their eyes filled with regret and love. Lisa nearby whispered to Maya, You're a queen, Maya. I'm proud of you. Maya smiled, feeling a final piece of her heart fall into place. She no longer needed the Carters' approval. She knew her worth, and James, Emma, and Noah's love was enough. The visit ended with sincere promises from the Carters. As they left, Maya and James sat on the sofa, Emma and Noah asleep in their cribs. You're stronger than I ever imagined, James said, kissing her hand. Maya leaned into him, replying, Because you're always by my side, James, and because I know we're worth fighting for. At the Buckhead mansion, Evelyn sat alone holding a photo of Emma and Noah that Maya sent. For the first time, she felt relief, but knew her journey to redemption was beginning. Maya and James watched their children sleep in their apartment, knowing they'd overcome the past to build their own future. Autumn 2024. Adorned Atlanta with vibrant red and gold foliage, a canvas celebrating life after storms. In their small midtown apartment, James and Maya Carter prepared to celebrate the first birthday of their twins Emma and Noah, a milestone marking their 12-year journey of trials. With her black curly hair tied high and deep brown eyes brimming with joy, Maya was now a women's health nurse practitioner, supporting Black mothers at Atlanta's pediatric hospital. James, a West End community clinic doctor, wore a warm smile, playing with their children, his blue eyes reflecting a deep love for his family. Their apartment, once a witness to tears of infertility and insults from the Carter family, now echoed with children's laughter and peace. The birthday party was held in the apartment's backyard, decorated with green and yellow balloons, a wooden table laden with chocolate cake and soft Jamaican reggae music, a tribute to the fateful trip that redefined family for them. Emma crawled across a blanket with her mother's black curls, tugging at their dog Daisy's tail. With lighter skin and his father's smile, Noah clapped delightedly as Lisa, Maya's best friend, made silly faces. With her short red hair and boundless energy, Lisa brought a giant teddy bear, shouting, "I'm the coolest aunt, right?" Maya laughed and hugged her, grateful for Lisa's unwavering support through every storm. Friends from the Black Women's Hospital Support Group, colleagues from James's clinic, and Professor Helen from Emory University attended, bringing gifts and warm wishes. Angela Maya's mother held Noah telling him about his Jamaican great-grandmother, while Dr. Harris, their OB/GYN, discussed Maya's reproductive health research project. The atmosphere overflowed with kinship proof that family wasn't just blood, but those who chose to love and uplift each other. James stood beside Maya, in a teal shirt, arm around her, as they watched their children play. "Look at them," he said, voice low. "We didn't dare dream of this day a year ago." Maya leaned into him, replying, "And look at us, James. We've overcome everything. Prejudice, pain, the storm. Because of love." As the sun set, fairy lights strung in the trees glowed, and James and Maya cut the birthday cake, everyone clapping and singing happy birthday. Emma and Noah in high chairs giggled as frosting smeared their faces. Raising a glass of juice, Lisa teased Maya, "You owe me a medal for being at the clinic that stormy night." Maya laughed, pulling Lisa into a hug and whispering, "I owe you the world, Lisa." After the party, as guests dwindled, Maya and Lisa sat on a backyard bench watching James play with the twins. Maya said softly, "I want to tell Emma and Noah they were worth the wait, Lisa. Every tear, insult, and moment I thought I wasn't enough led to them." Lisa wiped tears, hugging her. "You'll tell them, Maya, and they'll grow up knowing their parents are heroes." James, carrying Emma and Noah upstairs, tucked them into their cribs, singing a Jamaican lullaby Maya had taught him. When he returned, Maya stood in the doorway, eyes shining. "Do you ever regret it, James?" she asked quietly. "Regret choosing me, despite your family, despite everything?" James stepped close, taking her hands, eyes steadfast. "Maya, choosing you was the best thing I ever did. My life would be empty without you, Emma and Noah." They sat on the sofa, Daisy curled beside them, gazing at photos on the wall from their wedding, the Jamaica trip to the stormy night their twins were born. Maya said, "I once thought love wasn't enough to overcome everything, but you proved me wrong. We built a family, not because society demanded it, but because we chose each other." James kissed her, whispering, "And I'll choose you every day forever." After their reconciliation, the Carter family kept their promises. Evelyn, now living more humbly, sent birthday gifts for Emma and Noah, hand-knitted hats with another apology letter. Henry and Clara visited occasionally, always respecting Maya's boundaries. William, though frail, sent a video greeting calling Maya the strongest woman I know. Maya accepted these efforts, but knew her true family was James, their children, Lisa, and the community that supported them. One evening, post-party, Maya and James stood on their balcony, city lights twinkling below. "You know," Maya said, "I was once afraid we'd never have this day. But every challenge from the medical library, your mother's insults to the storm, made us stronger." James hugged her from behind, replying, "Because we don't just love each other, Maya. We fight for each other." In the nursery, Emma and Noah slept soundly, dreaming innocent dreams. They didn't yet know they were the answer to midnight prayers, the fruit of a love that overcame prejudice, pain, and storms. But they'd grow up hearing their parents say, "You're a miracle. You were worth the wait. You're enough just as you are." Through those stories, James and Maya would keep healing, choosing love, and building a true family, not based on blood or expectations, but on resilience and heart. Their story, begun one night in a medical library, had triumphed over every trial, ending not with happily ever after, but with happiness despite it all. And for James and Maya Carter, that was the most beautiful love.